Good morning, everyone. My name is Milan. I'm from Infosys and I'm an Atlassian certified expert. I work as a consultant expert, having the implementations and integrations done with the help of the Atlassian product suite. We have a series of tools that I'll be taking you through while taking you through the Agile architecture journey. I'll be covering from the overview perspective of Scrum and DevOps, how the both can be used using the different Atlassian products that I'll be taking you through. And I'll be taking you through on how those tools can be integrated seamlessly, having the Scrum and the DevOps in picture. Okay? First of all, of course, special thanks to all the sponsors and the partners of the event that we're having right now. Without them, of course, the event wouldn't have been possible. So special thanks to everyone, including the platinum, gold, bronze sponsors that we have. That's the agenda that I'll be covering today. We'll be talking about what is Scrum, what is DevOps. Of course, most of the things have been discussed in the previous sessions by Scott and also by Syed over here. And we're talking about state of DevOps, the different tools that can be used to have Scrum and DevOps in picture, and how can Scrum and DevOps be used together to have a seamless collaboration across the software tools, across the software development that we are having in place. Isolated teams. So traditionally we have been working with different organizations and big companies where we have seen that you have teams which are working across in different isolations or in silos. You will be having departments where the teams of each of these roles will be working, but they are not integrated with each other. You'll be having people where business analyst is working on his analysis, they are having a PRDs, SRS being created, but the technical architect or the software development team are never really involved in the discussions that they are working with. Okay. Some of this I'm sure you would have faced too, and there are problems that you will anticipate or that you would encounter when you're working with teams where the teams are highly isolated and they are not really working together in understanding what the end product would be. Okay. Here are some of the problems that might arise when the teams are working in isolation or when they are working in silos and there is no real collaboration between the different roles and the different departments that are working together. Communication. One of the bigger problems that you might anticipate when the roles are working in silos is the communication, where how are the requirements being communicated to the next role or to the next department that they are working together. So for example, when the analyst is done with his work, how is the analysis being communicated to the roles that are going to work in the series, in the journey over itself? Will they be sent over emails? Will they be sent on some tools? Will there be updates? How are those updates going to be shared? Where will they be shared? How will they be informed? How are they going to get notified about it? And where is all this being documented? Okay. That's one of the prime communication problems that you will be facing. Second being the process. Now, what process are you going to follow when you are working with an isolated teams? When the teams are especially distributed around the world, how are the process going to be? With the long driven process, following the traditional methods or following the traditional waterfall approach, if you follow, you will be having a process where the things are mostly broken, or where the testers or the system operations is waiting for the longest of the duration for 6 to 8 months for having the deployment in process, which means they are going to wait for almost an year for them to reach on what the product is going to get deployed. Yeah. There is a ping pong between designers and the developers, or the developers and the testers. So when working in an isolations, you will be having a designer who has come up with mock-ups, come up with screenshots, come up with different HTML UIs and UX designers, and then it gets to the developer. Now when the developer starts working on the implementation itself, he realizes that okay, this is use case which is not really possible with the technology stack we are using, or this following thing will not be possible because the mobile application doesn't support it, or the web application doesn't support the way we are looking at designing this. And this is where your entire problem begins, where the analyst thought of designing something, the designer came up with the UX and the UIs for you, and the developer team was never really involved in the discussion when the entire thing was being scoped out. And this is where we realize that there happens a ping pong between the designers and the developers on how you can tweak that, how you can change that, how we can massage things around it, and how we can at least roll out some of the features that are being used, and thereby either missing the deadlines or you're missing out on the actual feature that the analyst or your business teams were really thinking about. The same thing applies for the developer and the tester, where the tester receives the business case or the BRD and the SRS from the business analyst. indicating that this was something that was planned and this was something that was supposed to be done. Whereas in the actual real world, when the tester receives it, he says that this is not something, it was discussed with the UI and we had made some changes based on that. And that's where the entire discussion starts and the meeting happens between the designers, developers, testers, and each of the roles gets into a meeting room. So those are some of the bigger problems. Of course, the last one being the deploy of developments and the operations, which is nothing but the system operations that comes into picture at the end of the process. Once you start this deployment process, you start to realize that okay, some of the deployments are resulting into a failure and you have a problem now on the production or the pre-production instance. This is where the sysops come into picture and he starts to talk with the application development that okay, the deployment has been done but it is not working. Now, according to the application development, the deployment was working on the staging environment, so it is not our issue. It's the sysops issue. You have to take care of the production side. Now, these are the challenges which you will face when you are working with distributed teams or when you are working with isolation teams where the teams are working in silos. They are only concerned about the responsibilities that they are working with. They aren't really thinking about the team in totality and having that mindset that okay, my prime focus is having a deployment and I'll just do the deployment. It works, it doesn't work, I will just update the team and my job is done. So that's the culture which we are really talking about, is about the isolation and working in silos, which we will see in the next slides on how we can break that culture, how we can break that barrier between the development and operations, and how we can use some of the Atlassian products that can help us in achieve a seamless DevOps as well as the Scrum operations. Teamwork. So as I told you in the previous slide that teamwork is difficult, teamwork is hard. It's not easy when you're working with big teams and when you're working with teams across the globe. It's not easy to have that seamless communication or seamless collaboration between the team members. Communication especially being a difficult one because as a developer or as a designer when you're working on your part, you are being informed from multiple channels that okay, what happened to that feature that we are working on? Is the deployment being done? We have a problem on the production that needs to be fixed ASAP. Is the slides being rolled out? Is the testing being done? So you are getting emails, phone calls from everywhere, and the communication really becomes difficult to handle when you're working as a software developer or you're working on any other roles. Yeah. Second problem being context switching, which relates to the primary point of communication, that when you're working as a developer, your focus is about developing the product and your focus is all about that. That's when the product owner or the product designer or the manager comes in and asks you about something else, that okay, what happened to the version 1 release that you are planning on for the next week? And you really have to switch your context. Okay, I'm working on something, building my APIs, you're asking me about something else. Let me figure out first of all what you're asking for and let me get back to my work. That context switching is really hard, not only for developers, for any other roles or for even the deployment managers when you take into that consideration. Yeah. Distributed teams, and lastly dependencies. Connecting to the 2 points, when you have distributed teams and when there is a dependency on the distributed teams, how do you really handle that? For example, when you are working on something and you really need some information that is only available to the team that is available on the remote locations. You have to wait for like a 24 hours or a 12-hour shift to finish that. The other person will check your emails, will get the updates and will send back to you. Maybe he doesn't send the full information, which means you will again have to wait for 1 full day, and that leaves you with nothing but spending your 2 full days doing nothing but waiting for the actual information that you are actually waiting for. Yeah. Some of the teamwork problems that we look at right now, and this is where the entire you can see the mingle that happens around with the ping pong being considered at various levels, the problems that are being inserted into. Now this is where we will be taking into consideration and we will be talking about different agile methodologies. As a part of this presentation, I will be covering on how Scrum can help us in having some of these, solving some of these problems, and how we can have faster time to delivery by having the Scrum methodology in place. So what is Scrum? Now, by definition of Scrum, a framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems while productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible values. That's what Scrum is all about. Okay. Now, Scrum, of course, it's simple to understand. It's an extremely lightweight framework. It doesn't enforce you to follow certain standards, follow certain processes. It's just a prescriptive model. Okay. It's difficult to master because it needs a constant learning. It's not that you go for a 2-day course goes, and the next day you are up and ready with 100% knowledge and 100% performance on the delivery model that you're working with. It's a constant learning, it's a constant culture change that will come into picture, and slowly and eventually you will get to a stage where you are ready and you are building your stable, relative and good quality software in picture. Okay. So it's simple to understand, lightweight but difficult to master. That's the Scrum process, which of course I'm sure everybody in the hall would have seen how this works. You have a product backlog in picture which has all the feature requests in place where the product owner works with. You will have the product backlog which will take into consideration the sprint backlog. So you have a Scrum Master who runs the sprint. You have a Scrum Master who runs the processes. He sits with the team, the development team, the testing team, the designers, and you will come up with the backlog. The product owner will prioritize your backlog and he will come up with the feature set that you will be working with. During your sprint planning sessions, you will consider the various high priority tickets that needs to be kicked off in the first iterations. You will work on those iterations. The sprints will begin, which can either be a 2-week sprint, a 4-week sprint, based on the capacity of your team and based on the velocity of your team. You can consider on how big or smaller your sprints should be. Okay. Once your sprint gets into picture, you will execute your sprint. You will have daily updates. You will have daily Scrum ceremonies that are being conducted by the Scrum Master and the Scrum team in itself. So you will have daily updates on how are the features being rolled out, what updates are happening, what is done, what is not done. Which means you have updates at a daily level, and the max you can have is at a sprint level, where you will know that okay, following items are going to get delivered, or we are going to get 80% of the sprint done and 20% might not be completed. So at a daily level, you will know what are the impediments that the team is facing or that the product is going to face, and the product owner in the meanwhile can update this product backlog based on the items that are being delivered in the current sprint. Okay. So once your sprint is completed, you will have some of the potentially shippable product increments, which of course can then be delivered to the next step, and it can be given either to the staging environment, it can be delivered, or it can be ready and you can start with the next sprint, where of course after a number of sprints you can deliver that onto the production. Okay. I'll be covering that into the next slides of how that process is being taken into, how that process is done when a sprint gets complete, how DevOps can come into picture and can help you deliver those products. Scrum ceremonies, as you all are aware of, that we just discussed, we have the product backlog that is being maintained by the product owner in consideration with the Scrum Master. So you have a daily grooming sessions with the product owner and the Scrum Master, and you update your product backlog. You have sprint planning sessions with the team in itself, where you have sprint backlog, sprint tasks, and what are the sprint goals that you will be having for every sprint that you are working with. So whenever you are starting your sprints, you will be having sprint items. Against sprint items, you will be having your story point estimations or your time estimations. Once your planning activities are completed, your backlog is ready, you will execute your sprints, and based on that, you will be having your sprint goals for every sprint that you are running. On your daily Scrum activities, as you are aware of, we will be having 3 items, 3 questions that are being asked on a daily Scrum ceremonies. What we have done, what we will do today, and are there any impediments that I can help you resolve those impediments. So as a Scrum Master, it's my job, and as a facilitator, I can help you resolve those impediments that the team is right now working in. You will have sprint review, which is done by the team, of course. In the reviews, you will have your presentations or demos of the product that is being ready, or of the feature set that is being ready, and you can showcase that to the product owner as well as to the business. And of course, you will have the next set of items that can be taken into considerations. Lastly, you will have the retrospectives that are being conducted for every sprint. So after every sprint is done, you will have a sprint retrospective, where you will have, you can follow the DAKI framework, where you will have what are the things that you want to stop doing it, basically drop doing those. What are the things that you want to add? What are the good things that work for you and you would like to keep doing that, so you continue doing those things that work well for us? And what are the things that you want to improve and you can still get better at it? Okay, so that's the DAKI framework that you can start using it for your retrospectives. It can help you understand and get better at for consecutive sprints, thereby increasing your velocity and having better sprint outcomes. So we are using sprint for planning and development. That's good for us. So we know that our planning is happening. The product owner is working on the feature sets. We are having the stories in pictures. We are having the fix in place. We are having the tasks in over there. The development team is working on it, but we also need what is called as automation and deployments. Just working on the development tickets, and once they are ready, how do you really have automation in picture, and how do you really have those paid deployments ready for any environments that you're working with, so that the customer is able to see what you're working on, rather than waiting for the one full year and then you are getting a big bang release that okay, we are now done. You can start using the feature that you were asked for a year back. Okay. That's when DevOps come into picture. Now DevOps, as even Scott and even I think Syed mentioned, that DevOps is all about practices, and it's all about a culture mindset that we work with. So it's a culture where you have a shared responsibilities, you have open feedbacks, you have transparencies, you have communications, you have better feedback, continuous loop feedback operations between the operations team and the development team. So DevOps is not really a framework or a method, but it's a culture that is set for practices that automate the process between the development and the operations. Okay, so that's DevOps for you. Success factors. Culture being the number one success factor when you're working with DevOps. So let's discuss that. Working as a team. So when you're having DevOps as a culture, you work as a team and not really work in silos. Which means that indicating that okay, this is not my problem, this is not my issue, there's a problem on the production, the team has to take care of it. So you're not really working in a silo, but you're working together as a team, and that's where it helps that okay, we are going to work together as a team, even if it's a problem on the production or if it's a problem on some other instances, we are going to fix it as a team together, and it's not that it's your problem, it's my problem. So the blame game stops over there, and DevOps as a culture, it enforces and it learns that okay, you start working as a team together. Release frequently, which means you have your continuous integrations, continuous testing, continuous deployments, and continuous delivery in place. You release as soon as you're done. So you release as frequently as you can. You can have feature flag releases, or you can have your beta releases, but you can have your releases faster rather than waiting for the full cycle to complete. So you can have your beta releases and your feature set releases in place. By having frequent releases, of course, you will have your better reliability, better quality, and better stability. Because you know that in every release, you will have your certain test cases, you will have your integration testing being done for every release, and in every release you will know what is working, what is not working. Whatever is broken, you can take back that into the next consideration sprint, and again you can work on fixing those things. So you don't really have to wait for the entire cycle to complete. You have faster releases and you have continuous integrations in place. Time to resolution, of course, as I mentioned about, you have transparency, communication, feedback across the teams. So you work together as a team and you don't really work in silos. You also have unplanned work where you have that culture in place and you start adapting and inspecting the problems and the work that you are there, which means you don't really work based on the items that are prioritized for you, but you are also open and you are available for any unplanned work that comes in place for you. Which means even if there is some hot fix that is there, or even if any other work that comes in, you are still open to hear what it is and you embrace the change and you are ready to take that unplanned work for you. Yeah. The state of DevOps, as most would have seen this from the Phoenix model, from the Phoenix project that was published on the online, so everybody could be aware of that. Is big companies, for example, Amazon, Google, Netflix, as you can see, they have 20,000 deployments per day, 5,000 deployments per day, they have 500 deployments per day. These deployments are happening across the various instances and across the various environments. So you can see the frequency of the deployments and the deploy lead times that they rely into. As you can see, typical enterprise model has one deployment per 9 months. That is, we're talking about a big bang release where you have a single deployment happening on the largest model, and that's when you realize that okay, by the time we release, the market has changed what we are planning for, and the release is happening one per 9 months. Even the reliability is low and medium for the enterprise level, whereas if you can see, for the big companies, they are highly reliable and the customer responsiveness is quite faster and quite high. The customer is even responsive to indicate that the customer is receiving your updates and you are listening to the customers rather than waiting for one full year and indicating the customer that you have delivered your product. So you don't really wait for that long. So DevOps, breaking the DevOps operations barrier. This is where the Atlassian suite of products comes into picture, and this is where the Atlassian will help you in having the continuous delivery in place, breaking the development and the operations together. The famous infinity loop that most would know. where you plan, build, you have continuous integrations in place, you deploy, you operate, and then the continuous feedback goes into picture. You have the entire collaboration from end to end. This is where the Atlassian products will help you and have a seamless collaboration, thereby helping you to have the continuous delivery in place. We will be talking about each of the Atlassian products that are available over here, how they can help you in each of the phases that you can see on the infinity loop over here. JIRA software and the Confluence on the top left, as you can see, that can help you, and you can have all your documentations, all your requirements, all your meeting minutes, all your plans, everything can be captured on the JIRA software as well as on the Confluence. So you plan your sprints and you track your sprints, you have your metrics, you have your reports, everything on the JIRA itself. It's a planning tool, it helps you to capture all of these requirements, and you can track against those with various reports that are being captured over there. I'll be talking about that in the next slides with details about it. Once your developments are done, you move that code base to a Bitbucket, which is a code repository. That's a code GitHub Git repository where you can have your code versions, you can have your code reviews, code versions, different branches, have your pull requests, and have your integrations with different other products that you have. Once from Bitbucket, the code is being pushed, it goes into a Bamboo. Bamboo is a continuous delivery solution which is similar to Jenkins. It helps you have continuous integration and continuous delivery in place. Yeah. From Bamboo, it goes to Bamboo and Bitbucket together, which helps you have a shippable products that are ready. Once your test cases and your different scenarios pass, it automatically ships the product to the next available instance or the environments that you have. So you can ship your products to the different environments based on the configurations that you define. Once your product is shipped and it is ready on the production and to the customer, you will have your operations and the service desk team, which is ready to hear about customer problems, customer happiness, customer feedback, and all those feedback can again get captured inside the tool itself, where you have Confluence to document those reports, and you can have JIRA Service Desk, which helps you have your SLAs and your operations in place. So you can have your different metrics, and you can have your different SLAs, different queues, different priorities, and you can have your different algorithms based on which the ticket gets routed inside the team itself. And based on the ticket that is being raised, or based on the problem that the customer is talking about, the ticket gets automatically linked to the JIRA ticket which the developer was working on, and to the Confluence requirement where the requirement was getting captured. So you have an end-to-end visibility on what was the requirement, what was the ticket that we are working on, what were the test cases that we had executed on, what is the customer problem that he has reported on, and how is the customer problem linked to the requirement that we are talking about. So an end-to-end solution is being captured over there and is being documented on the tool itself. Okay. Looking into JIRA software on how and what JIRA software is all about. So JIRA is the #1 agile development solution for tracking, managing, and reporting on the software projects. Okay. So it's the #1 agile solution out there, primarily being started as a task management solution. Over a span of years, it has now been moved into a project management solution, and it can eventually track anything that you can think of, right? From marketing solutions, software solutions, HR policies, finances, anything, any department it can work with. Okay. It has its own solution boards, and it has its own marketplace add-ons. You have 3,000 plus add-ons that you can use on top of JIRA solutions to achieve more from the software in itself. Yeah. For the product manager, of course, you can start planning the projects, sprints, timelines, and the next big releases. Even for the release managers, it gives you a release dashboard and release managers where you will always be on track, and you will always be on the radar to understand, are the releases on track, is the release going to happen, is it not going to happen, how far we are, how much the development gets done, what are not done. Yeah. From the development manager's perspective, you can manage the scope, the timelines, the resource capacity, and the on-time releases. So at any given point in time, you will know what is my resources, where are the resources being utilized, what is the capacity, and what is the velocity that they are working with. Developers, of course, they can track issues, they can track bugs, and they can track any work items related to the project at hand. Okay. So for every role, JIRA can be helpful, and it can help you track your entire day-to-day activities, and it can help you track your entire project from end-to-end perspective. Talking about Confluence, moving to Confluence, next page. The simplest place to create, organize, and discuss work with your items. Now, in Confluence, you have different templates that you work with, which is similar to your SharePoint portal, but it works with its own editor system, where you have different templates for different activities that you are doing. You can start tracking your product requirements, you can start tracking your meeting minutes, you can start tracking your feature requests, you can start tracking your acceptance criteria. Everything can be tracked and documented on the Confluence itself. It has its own versioning system which indicates that this document was changed by whom, when was it changed, what was changed, and why was it changed. Everything can be seamlessly having on the Confluence itself. Product requirements and documents, as I mentioned over there, you can start documenting those. You can define your own templates, which means different organizations work with different product requirement templates. You can define your own templates and you can ensure that every team is using the same templates by defining your own new product requirements. Project documents and file collaborations, you can start uploading your files over here. You can have your mockups, you can have your presentations, you can have your attachments, your icons, your images, everything can be uploaded, which the team can start sharing and using it. Activity stream indicating what was changed, when it was changed. You can even have a feedback sessions on each of the documents that you are there. And of course, you also have a native mobile app that is available for Confluence as well as for JIRA. So you can access your project documents from anywhere on the go. Okay. Moving on to Bitbucket, the next product which is there for the Git solutions for the professional teams. So if you have already used Git, you might be aware of GitHub, GitLab, and even Bitbucket. It's a solution where you can start, where the developers can start pushing their code, and the code gets versioned on the tool itself. So whenever you're working on a new ticket or on a new feature, you can start creating your new branches for the code. Automatically, the new branches are being tagged, and when you're pushing your code, you can automatically have the triggers for the push that you are doing. So whenever a developer is pushing the code, it automatically goes through different integration testing, different unit testing, and then it triggers the Bamboo test cases. So over here you can have code collaboration and hosting for development teams. Of course, Bitbucket comes with on-premise as well as cloud solutions. You can opt to choose for any of those based on your needs. You can even do code review, and you can have workflow restrictions indicating that who will do the code review, who has access to merge the request, who has access to raise the request. When the request is being raised, what happens to the respective JIRA ticket that the developer was working on? When the code is being pushed by the developer, should there be an update on the respective ticket and the respective test case that is being created by the test scenarios and the testers? All of this can be seamlessly integrated with Bitbucket as well as JIRA. Bamboo, the next solution, which gives you a continuous delivery build for professional teams. So for the continuous delivery purpose, where you have you can see your recent, you have all your builds over here. This is a solution similar to Jenkins, but giving you a better advantage and giving you a number one advantage of seamless integrations with different Atlassian tools, which means out of the box, it is well integrated with JIRA and your Bitbucket. Whenever your Bitbucket pull request or push request occur, you will automatically see all your builds over here, the past builds that have happened, each of the builds, success and failures over here. What are the changes that are being done? They are done by whom, and how you can integrate those with your instances and back to your tickets or the projects that you are working on. So you can have your integrations out of the box available over here. So continuous integration and deployment for the teams, and integration seamlessly with JIRA and Bitbucket traceability. So you can see that you have different plans over here. You have the different build numbers and how many builds that happen, and you can also see the artifacts related to the every build that has happened. So you get an end-to-end traceability when you have seamless integrations across the Atlassian tools. The last one being JIRA Service Desk, which transforms the IT to deliver faster and collaborate effortlessly. So all your operations and your service desk can be handled and taken care in JIRA Service Desk projects. So once your product has been released and you are into operations mode, you will have different problems, different issues, different escalations that are being raised by the customers, and you can start tracking those on the service desk. So your operations team can start using this, and you can have your projects, your service desk directly linked to your JIRA software, and you can easily track on what the customer is talking about and what was planned as a part of the project when the delivery was planned. So you can deliver exceptional IT service at fast. You can create your customer portals out of the box that are available. You can have your SLAs based on different configurations that are being created. So you can have SLAs either based on priorities, based on impact, based on severity, based on the nature of components. Are the problems because of database, because of applications, because of servers? Based on multiple configurations, you can have different types of SLAs. and based on different configurations, you can have different types of assignment algorithms to whom the tickets will be assigned to based on the different algorithms that you can set for. Everything is available out of the box over here. So that's the full continuous loop that you can work with. So you can have Scrum, where you can have using the Confluence and JIRA software, you can have your Scrum projects being created inside JIRA, where you can start tracking those. You can have all your Scrum ceremonies. You have daily Scrum, sprint reviews, sprint phases. All of this can be captured on the tool itself. And followed by that, you have a series of tools that you can use to achieve continuous delivery, continuous testing, and continuous integrations. So that's for Atlassian. We have 50,000 plus customers around the world, and we have teams of different sizes and teams of different levels that we are working with. Out of those 50,000 plus customers, there are a lot of customers which are Fortune 100 customers that we are working with. There are several banks that we are working with. Amongst that, top 7 banks amongst the countries are working with Atlassian tools, and they are having significant impact when working with the entire Atlassian suite working together, including 6,000 teams at an enterprise company level. An enterprise indicates that the team size or the project team that they are working with on the tool itself is more than 1,000 employees. So when a company is more than 1,000 employees and they are using the Atlassian suite, they are tagged as enterprise employees. And there are around 6,000 teams like that are using the Atlassian tools right now. So that's the last slide that I'll be talking in. So the Atlassian suite, which we covered, so you have the Confluence where you can start with the requirements, you can start documenting those requirements along with your discussions, meeting minutes, everything can be tagged over there. It then moves into JIRA, so you can have a direct integration over there. You start tracking your project, you can scope, you can assign work. You then have Bitbucket where you do your code reviews and you write your code over there. Goes into your integration loop where you have continuous testing, continuous integration. Finally, you have your collaboration and constant communication in place, which means you can integrate all of this directly with any of the messaging softwares that you're working with. It can be Slack, Microsoft Teams, Skype, or any other tools that you're working with. Of course, previously, until 2 years back, we had Chat, which was an Atlassian tool in itself that was directly integrated. And you can create tickets or you can get updates on Chat itself, which has now been replaced and it's no more actually. Chat is no more, and Atlassian is investing heavily on Slack tool now. So you can get direct updates on your Slack channels, on your Slack groups, on your Slack chat groups, and each of this is directly integrated over there. And yes, that's the last slide.
Thank you, Milan. We have a few minutes before lunch break. And who's going to start with the first question?
Hello everyone, my name is Ali Nausha. So when we talk about this JIRA and Confluence, does this support for a program level management, like where we have multiple projects, program or portfolio level kind of management?
Yes, it does support that. So out of the box, JIRA software comes with the project management solutions. When you want to work with program management solutions, there are marketplace add-ons that you can use. One of them I can recommend is Bitpicture. Bitpicture helps you have program management in place, which can help you track programs across different projects. You can have program management in place with Bitpicture, or you can even have portfolio management. You can have both of them being captured.
So it's an add-in or it's a combination?
It's an add-on. It's an add-on on top of JIRA that you can have.
Okay.
Yes.
So the second question what I have, I don't know, is it really relevant here? Like when we talk about Scrum plus DevOps, right? The challenge what usually we face, like the product what we are dealing with is very legacy products which build in legacy technologies like maybe VB or C++ kind of technologies.
Yeah.
So how do we integrate DevOps with this? Because when we talk about DevOps, you need to have test automation in place, continuous deployment in place, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be really challenging.
Yes.
Like product core banking system and all. I mean, you cannot transform the technology in short span of time. So
Yes.
how do we? I mean, do you have any experience or do you have any?
So that is given it's a legacy software and you're using the legacy technology stack. It's it's going to be a slow and incremental transformation that we'll have to go through, because some of them doesn't really support the continuous deployments that we're talking about. Some of these tools you actually need to sit and have the packages built, the compilers being done, and everything is being done, and then it gets deployed over there.
Sure.
So depending on the technology stack, which of course if it's a legacy one, which we're talking about 10-20 years back, the DevOps is definitely going to be much challenging on that part to work with. But
Thanks.
if you at least can have your documents, your requirements being captured, your test cases being documented also in the tool itself, but your deployments are going to be manual.
Right.
Until they reach to a sustainable level where the technology supports the continuous deployment over there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Next question.
So my name is Radha Puram. I'm from Market. We are Infosys customer as well.
Yes.
So you didn't talk about you have develop, you have build, you have deploy. But in between we have test as well.
Yes.
So that's when the whole cycle of continuous integration completes.
Yes.
You didn't talk about that particular part. How does the class transpose that?
Yes. So in JIRA, what you have is, as I told you, out of the box, JIRA doesn't have the test case solution in itself. You can custom build that solution. But JIRA has again an add-on which you can use called as Zephyr Test Case Management. Now that add-on, Zephyr as well as an X-ray, there's the two add-ons that you can use. Those solutions help you have test scenarios, test cases, and you can have sessions across each scenario that you're working. Each of this can then be tagged to a different requirements, to a different epics, and to the developer tickets that they are working with. So whenever the developer ticket gets over, automatically the test case gets executed, and the tester can have the option to either execute it manually or you can have an ad hoc solution to it. So both of them is possible as a part of JIRA solutions. Other than that, you can always have your unit test and your integration test, which are Selenium based or which if they are web based. You can have them in Bamboo and they can execute whenever your branch is being pushed to Bitbucket. So whenever a developer pushes his code, Bitbucket can trigger Bamboo, and Bamboo can itself trigger the test case to execute on the instance, on whatever instance it is. So you can have automatic solutions. The Bamboo in turn feeds back through JIRA and it updates the JIRA ticket automatically. And the test case was success, moves to the next transition. The test case failed, it has to go back, and from JIRA you can read back the details about the failed test cases. So you can have the end-to-end solution